Life does not hand to us victories on a silver platter. Every challenge, every setback, every moment of doubt is an invitation and opportunity to forge the steel of your mind. A positive mental attitude is not simply a sunny disposition. It is a deliberate cultivation of resilience, clarity, and unwavering faith in your inner strength. It begins in the quiet corners of your consciousness, where thoughts shape reality and perception determines outcome. To develop an unbreakable positive mental attitude, you must first recognize that negativity is not your enemy, it is your teacher. Every fear, every frustration, every shadow within you holds a lesson waiting to be understood. When you confront these inner shadows without judgment, you transform obstacles into stepping stones. Next, you must master the art of choice. Each day, in every thought and action, you are presented with the power to decide. Will I react with fear, resentment, or despair? Or will I respond with hope, courage, and determination? This is not about ignoring reality. It is about seeing clearly and choosing a response that serves your highest growth. A positive mental attitude also requires discipline. Just as muscles strengthen under tension, your mind grows stronger through repeated practice of optimism, gratitude, and focus. When you persist, even in the absence of immediate reward, you are training your consciousness to navigate the storms of life without being swept away. Finally, know that an unbreakable mind is cultivated in solitude as much as in action. Spend time reflecting, journaling, and observing your inner world. Silence allows the voice of your true self to emerge, guiding you toward choices aligned with your deepest purpose. A positive mental attitude is not a temporary shield. It is a permanent transformation. When your mind becomes unshakable, challenges become opportunities, failure becomes feedback, and life itself becomes a canvas for your highest expression. Embracing your inner shadows is not about pretending they do not exist or trying to force them away. The shadows are the parts of your mind that contain fear, doubt, anger, regret, and all the thoughts you hide even from yourself. They are not weaknesses. They are fragments of your true self waiting to be understood. Each shadow carries a message, a lesson, a truth that, when acknowledged, can lead to profound growth. To ignore them is to remain fragmented, to allow unseen forces to control your actions and shape your reality without your conscious permission. When you face your shadows, you gain awareness of the hidden motivations behind your behaviors and the unseen patterns that influence your life. Fear, for example, is often misinterpreted as something to resist. But when observed closely, it reveals what matters most to you. Anger and resentment, when explored, can expose deep wounds and unhealed parts of your psyche that crave attention and integration. Regret and guilt are not just burdens. They are mirrors reflecting choices that need understanding, forgiveness, and learning. By embracing these uncomfortable emotions, rather than fleeing from them, you develop an inner dialogue that is honest and compassionate, allowing your mind to function with clarity instead of being clouded by denial. This process begins with mindfulness, observing your thoughts and feelings without judgment, noticing what triggers them, and listening to the subtle messages they carry. Reflection and journaling can be powerful tools in this journey, giving form to what might otherwise remain invisible and chaotic. As you gradually accept the shadow aspects of yourself, you realize they are not separate from your potential. They are intertwined with it. Strength, creativity, courage, and insight often arise from the very places you once feared. The shadows, when integrated, no longer control you from the background. They become sources of wisdom and resilience. This does not happen overnight. It requires patience, self-compassion, and the willingness to confront discomfort repeatedly. Each encounter with your inner darkness is an opportunity to reclaim power and reshape your identity consciously. Embracing shadows is also an act of liberation, because the more you acknowledge and understand the hidden aspects of your mind, the less they dictate your decisions unconsciously. You start to recognize patterns, predict reactions, and respond from a place of conscious choice rather than impulse or fear. Over time, this practice cultivates a profound sense of inner stability, self-acceptance, and mental clarity. Life challenges no longer feel like threats, but invitations to deepen your understanding of yourself. The inner shadows, once feared, become allies in your growth, guiding you toward authenticity, self-mastery, And the realization that wholeness is achieved not by suppressing the dark, but by embracing it fully, allowing its lessons to illuminate the path forward. Mastering the power of choice begins with understanding that life does not happen to you. It unfolds through the decisions you make, both conscious and unconscious. Every moment presents an opportunity to respond in ways that either strengthen your mind or leave it vulnerable to fear, doubt, and negativity. The power of choice is not about controlling every circumstance around you, but about controlling your reaction to them. You may not be able to prevent challenges, setbacks, or difficult people from entering your life, but you can always choose how you engage with them. This requires a deep awareness of your thoughts, emotions, and impulses, because most people live as if they are at the mercy of circumstances, reacting reflexively rather than responding intentionally. When you recognize that your mind is a decision-making instrument, you begin to see that every emotion, every impulse, and every thought is an invitation to make a conscious choice. Anger can be met with patience, fear with courage, and frustration with clarity. Choosing is not always easy. It often demands courage, self-reflection, and the willingness to face discomfort. But each deliberate choice strengthens the mind and builds a resilient, positive mental attitude. The power of choice also requires distinguishing between immediate impulses and long-term intentions. It is easy to react in ways that feel satisfying in the moment but undermine your deeper purpose. Mastery comes when you pause, observe, and decide in alignment with your highest values rather than temporary desire or emotion. This practice transforms ordinary moments into exercises of empowerment, and over time, your life becomes a reflection of conscious decisions rather than uncontrolled reactions. Mastering choice also extends to the narrative you tell yourself about life. You can choose to interpret setbacks as failures or as lessons that shape your growth. You can see criticism as an attack or as information that can refine your approach. Even in extreme circumstances, the freedom to choose your perspective remains inviolable because perception is always within your control. This awareness gradually shifts your sense of responsibility and personal power, reinforcing the idea that you are not a passive participant but an active creator of your life experience. By consistently practicing conscious choice, you cultivate a mind that does not waver with every emotional gust. Challenges no longer dictate your state of being because you have trained yourself to respond with clarity and intentionality. The mastery of choice is the foundation of resilience, self-mastery, and unwavering positivity. When your mind becomes disciplined in the art of choosing, external chaos cannot uproot your inner equilibrium. Every decision, small or large, becomes a building block for a life led with purpose, integrity, and the unshakable confidence that you are always capable of steering your own path, no matter what circumstances arise. Practicing mental discipline is the cornerstone of developing a mind that remains steadfast in the face of life as storms. It is not simply about forcing yourself to think positively or suppressing undesirable thoughts, but about training your consciousness to focus, resist distraction, and act in alignment with your deepest values. Mental discipline begins with awareness, observing the wandering mind, noticing impulsive reactions, and understanding the habitual patterns that pull you away from clarity. Most people allow their minds to drift aimlessly, responding to every external stimulus, every fleeting emotion, and every passing thought. In contrast, the disciplined mind chooses its focus deliberately, deciding which thoughts to nurture and which to release. Like a muscle, the mind grows stronger through consistent practice. Each moment you consciously redirect attention, resist temptation, or choose patience over impulsivity, you are reinforcing the neural pathways that support resilience and clarity. Mental discipline is cultivated in both action and stillness. In action, it is evident when you persist through difficult tasks, maintain composure under pressure, or refuse to be swayed by negativity. In stillness, it emerges in the deliberate moments of reflection, meditation, or journaling, where you examine the contents of your mind without judgment and guide them toward constructive patterns. It also requires establishing habits that protect and strengthen mental focus, limiting distractions, prioritizing meaningful work, and consistently revisiting your goals and intentions. These practices are not about rigid control, but about creating a stable inner environment where your mind can function optimally. Over time, disciplined mental practice transforms reactions into conscious responses, reducing impulsivity and emotional turbulence. You begin to notice that challenges no longer provoke automatic stress or frustration. Instead, you respond with calm, clarity, and strategic thinking. Mental discipline is also closely tied to the cultivation of emotional regulation. By observing and directing your thoughts, you prevent negative emotions from dominating your perception and behavior. Patience, self-control, and persistence become natural expressions rather than forced virtues. This level of discipline does not require extraordinary circumstances or external validation. It is practiced in daily decisions, small actions, and repeated choices. Each act of focus, each refusal to yield to distraction, and each moment of conscious awareness compounds, building a mental architecture capable of supporting long-term success, emotional stability, and inner peace. The disciplined mind becomes a fortress, resistant to fear, doubt, and the chaos of external events. It allows you to navigate life with purpose and resilience, ensuring that your actions are aligned with intention rather than reaction. In essence, practicing mental discipline is the cultivation of freedom, the freedom to choose your thoughts, govern your emotions, and shape your life with deliberate precision. It is through this steady, persistent effort that an unbreakable positive mental attitude is born, and the mind becomes an instrument of clarity, strength, and unwavering focus in every aspect of life. Seeking solitude and reflection is not a retreat from life, but a deliberate journey inward where the mind finds clarity, the heart finds calm, and the soul reconnects with its deepest purpose. In solitude, the distractions of the outside world fall away, revealing the raw, unfiltered landscape of your inner self. Without the constant noise of external demands, opinions, and expectations, you are able to observe your thoughts and emotions with honesty, understanding their origins and their influence on your life. Reflection allows you to examine patterns of behavior, moments of success, and instances of failure with a discerning eye, free from the distortions of ego or societal pressure. In these quiet moments, you begin to recognize the parts of yourself that drive unconscious choices, the fears, desires, and unresolved experiences that quietly shape your reality. By confronting these truths, you gain the power to redirect your mind toward intentional growth, rather than reactive living. Solitude is not about isolation. It is about creating space to integrate your experiences, reconcile inner conflicts, and listen to the subtle wisdom of your own consciousness. It is in this space that intuition emerges, guiding decisions with a clarity that is often obscured in the bustle of daily life. Journaling, meditation, or simply sitting in silent observation can deepen this reflective practice, transforming fleeting thoughts into meaningful insights and habitual awareness. Regular engagement with solitude and reflection strengthens mental discipline and emotional intelligence simultaneously as you learn to navigate your inner world with patience and curiosity. Moreover, reflection allows you to see life from a broader perspective. Challenges that once felt overwhelming are understood as temporary and instructive. Relationships that were confusing reveal underlying patterns. Your own reactions become a mirror, showing opportunities for growth and self-mastery. Over time, this practice cultivates resilience because the mind trained in reflection is not easily swayed by chaos, criticism, or unexpected setbacks. You develop the capacity to respond rather than react, to act with intention rather than impulse, and to choose the path that aligns with your highest values. Solitude also fosters creativity and insight, as the quiet mind is able to connect ideas, recognize solutions, and uncover truths that are impossible to perceive amid constant noise. This reflective practice ultimately nurtures a profound sense of self-awareness, inner stability, and mental clarity, forming the foundation for an unbreakable positive mental attitude. When solitude is embraced not as loneliness but as opportunity, and reflection is approached not as self-criticism but as self-discovery, you awaken a continuous dialogue with your inner self. This dialogue illuminates the shadows, strengthens conscious choice, and refines mental discipline, enabling you to navigate life with balance, authenticity, and a confidence rooted in understanding who you are and the principles by which you wish to live. The mind nurtured in silence and reflection, becomes a vessel of insight, strength, and unwavering clarity, capable of meeting the world with calm resilience and intentional purpose. Seeing challenges as opportunities begins with a shift in perception, a conscious decision to interpret life as difficulties not as threats or punishments, but as invitations for growth and transformation. Every obstacle, whether external or internal, carries a hidden lesson, a chance to strengthen character, refine skills, and deepen understanding of yourself and the world. The mind conditioned to view challenges as burdens becomes reactive, anxious, and limited, while the mind trained to see opportunity within adversity develops resilience, creativity, and confidence. Challenges are inevitable. No life is free from uncertainty, setbacks, or unexpected trials. What differentiates those who flourish from those who falter is not the presence of difficulty, but the ability to extract meaning from it. Each challenge presents a choice: to succumb to frustration, fear, or self-doubt, or to rise with curiosity, courage, and determination. When you actively seek the lesson within a challenge, you transform resistance into insight and pain into purpose. This perspective requires mindfulness and awareness, because the instinctive reaction to difficulty is often avoidance or complaint. By pausing, observing, and reflecting on the nature of the obstacle, you gain clarity about the actions, attitudes, and adjustments needed to overcome it. Opportunities often lie hidden in the very areas where discomfort exists. A conflict may reveal hidden patterns in relationships. Failure may illuminate weaknesses in habits, focus, or preparation. Loss may uncover values and priorities previously unexamined. By approaching challenges with intentionality and openness, you unlock doors to growth that would otherwise remain closed. This mindset does not deny the reality of hardship or minimize its difficulty. Rather, it reframes the experience so that the energy of struggle is directed toward constructive action and learning. Over time, seeing challenges as opportunities strengthens emotional resilience, because the mind learns to navigate adversity without being destabilized. It fosters problem-solving skills, creativity, and adaptability as the individual begins to anticipate obstacles and respond proactively rather than reactively. Moreover, this approach deepens self-confidence, as each challenge overcome reinforces the understanding that you possess the inner resources, clarity, and strength to handle what life presents. Life itself becomes a teacher, and setbacks become milestones on a path of continuous improvement. The practice also cultivates patience and persistence, because meaningful lessons and transformations often require sustained effort and reflection. By consistently viewing challenges through the lens of opportunity, you gradually condition your mind to remain composed, focused, and positive, even in the face of adversity. In this way, difficulties are no longer interruptions to your life, but integral components of it, shaping resilience, wisdom, and strength. Ultimately, the ability to see challenges as opportunities is a defining characteristic of a positive mental attitude, because it transforms obstacles into allies, setbacks into guidance, and life itself into a canvas for conscious growth and empowered action. Each challenge embraced becomes a step toward mastery of self, clarity of purpose, an unshakable confidence in your ability to navigate the complexities of existence. Committing to consistent action is the bridge between intention and transformation, the crucial force that turns insight, awareness, and discipline into tangible results. Knowledge, reflection, and positive thinking alone cannot change the course of your life. It is through persistent, deliberate action that the mind is strengthened, habits are formed, and goals are realized. Consistency is not merely repetition, it is the conscious, daily choice to align behavior with your highest values, even when motivation wanes or circumstances feel overwhelming. Every small act, taken with purpose, compounds over time, building momentum that cannot be easily reversed. This commitment requires a deep understanding that progress is often invisible in the short term. Growth rarely occurs in dramatic leaps. It emerges quietly through repeated, intentional steps, each one reinforcing resilience, self-discipline, and confidence. Consistent action also demands resistance to distraction, procrastination, and the allure of comfort, because the path of meaningful achievement is rarely convenient. The mind trained in persistent effort develops strength, focus, and adaptability, learning to navigate obstacles without surrendering to frustration or despair. It is not about perfection or rigid adherence to a plan, but about dedication to the process and willingness to continue even amid setbacks. When action is consistent, the mind begins to internalize the lessons of persistence, patience, endurance, and trust in one's own capacity to create results. Habits form as a natural consequence, reducing reliance on fleeting motivation and establishing a foundation for sustainable growth. Moreover, committing to action cultivates self-belief, because each completed task, no matter how small, serves as proof of capability and reinforces a sense of agency. Life, as challenges become manageable when approached step by step, rather than overwhelming in their entirety. This practice also harmonizes with reflection and self-awareness. As you act consistently, you learn to observe what strategies work, which habits support your goals, and where adjustments are needed. Without reflection risks wasted effort. Reflection without action risks stagnation. Together they create a feedback loop that accelerates growth and deepens understanding. Consistent action nurtures courage as well, because it requires facing uncertainty, risk, and discomfort repeatedly, teaching the mind that fear need not dictate behavior. Over time, the disciplined execution of deliberate action transforms not only circumstances but character, embedding resilience, patience, and unwavering commitment into the very fabric of identity. When the mind is trained to act consistently, external conditions lose their power to derail progress, and internal alignment between thought, intention, and behavior becomes the guiding principle of life. The result is a profound sense of empowerment, knowing that your life is shaped by conscious choices, deliberate effort, and steadfast dedication, rather than by chance, fear, or fleeting emotion. Commitment to consistent action is the practice that converts dreams into reality, knowledge into wisdom, and intention into unbreakable strength. It is through this unrelenting dedication, day after day, that a positive mental attitude becomes unshakable, resilient, and fully integrated into every aspect of living, enabling you to meet challenges with confidence, navigate setbacks with grace, and achieve goals with clarity and purpose. And so the journey to an unbreakable positive mental attitude is not a destination, but a lifelong practice. It is forged in the quiet moments of reflection, strengthened in the discipline of daily choice, and illuminated by the courage to embrace both the light and the shadows within. Every challenge you face, every moment of doubt, and every fear you confront becomes a teacher, guiding you toward deeper understanding and greater resilience. When you commit to consistent action, see obstacles as opportunities, and nurture your mind with focus and clarity, you awaken a force within yourself that cannot be shaken by circumstance. Your thoughts, your responses, and your intentions align to create a life of purpose, strength, and unwavering positivity. Remember, the power to shape your reality has always been in your hands. Choose deliberately, act consistently, and embrace the full spectrum of your inner world. In doing so, you will not only navigate life with grace and confidence, but you will also illuminate a path for others, showing that a mind cultivated with intention and courage is truly unbreakable.